Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Cafecito and Canes. With us is, of course, the living legend herself, sporting her hoodie line and her hoodie logo and everything, and her awesome hoodie background, Hoodie Girl.
What's up,
How's it
John?
going?
How's it going?
I can't complain at all. You know, the Canes are 2-0. I'm still on a high from
Week
spanking the
one.
Gators the way we did.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm enjoying that as much as possible. I'm still enjoying the Panthers Stanley Cup final, honestly. So
There's a lot of good things happening right now.
yeah, I'm
Canes are 2-0. You know, still on the Panther Stanley Cup high, and college hoop season is 50 days away.
yes, it is. College hoops is 50 days away. And before we jump into football, since we're on the subject, I don't obviously I follow Canes hoops, not as hardcore as you do. Anything we should be excited about for either the men's and women's team? Because I feel like there are obviously, very talented freshmen on the men's team. The women's team, I thought their record wasn't indicative of how good they really were. So you
Well,
tell us, what should we be excited
I
about?
think fans should be excited for both teams. I mean, starting with the men's team, one of the highest recruiting class in history of the program, especially with top 5 player Jaleel Bethea coming in, who's a projected lottery pick. Coach L went ham in the portal, completely rebuild the team around our incoming freshmen, Nigel Pack and Matthew Cleveland. We have a true center now in Lynn Kidd. He's 6'10". So everyone's saying that Coach L needs to recruit a center. We have height, and we have a really good backup coming from Idaho State, Kyrie Huey, who's 6'9". So we've got depth at position. We've got shooters. We've got defenders. Coach L, everything that people complained about last season about him not having depth on the team, he completely revamped the team. And then on the women's team, we have a new coach. And a lot of our players left from last season. It was probably the biggest snub in tournament history of us not getting into the tournament last season. The ACC on the women's side is stacked. It should have been 9 teams that made a tournament last year. It was only 8 because we got snubbed. But Coach Cullup did an amazing job, completely rebuilt the program. I think we're going to be really, really competitive. And yeah, I think both teams are tournament teams. And I think the men could really make a significant run. The women, it's a little harder to predict because of how stacked the ACC is and how top heavy women's basketball is. But I think the women's team is going to be very competitive as well.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Especially to watch Jaleel Bethea, because
Yeah.
ever since we landed that recruit, it's like people forgot about Austin Swartz, who is also a stud himself.
He's a top 50 player also.
Yeah, like that's how good Jaleel Bethea is. Like that, people kind of forgot about him.
And we have Arkansas with new coach Cal coming into town in December. If people don't remember, we got blown out by Kentucky at Kentucky last year, and now Coach Cal's at Arkansas, and we have Arkansas in the SEC tournament, ACC SEC tournament this year. So Coach Cal's coming to the Watt. So some exciting games. And with ACC, you got Duke, UNC. So basketball season is going to be a lot of fun. And buckets, we got you covered with coverage.
There you go. So back to football. Like I said, still excited about the start of the season and how well things have gone so far. It's almost like my brain doesn't want to believe it, but it's true. It's happening. We have a quarterback, or we have an offense that can score. We can blow teams out, as we've seen. What have you seen so far? Like, just your general thoughts on the team. What have you liked? Maybe some things you haven't liked. Yeah, floor is yours. What do you think so far?
So I've rewatched the Florida game at least 4 or 5 times, and I've rewatched the FAMU game a few times too. Shout out to Vish for giving me his Sling TV login because DirecTV is messing us up with ESPN. But it's just really fun to watch a competent offense. Like, that's my favorite thing to watch, is watching Cam Ward go through his progressions, his ability to step up into the pocket, his ability to know when to scramble. I mean, he had that one interception against Florida, which the guy was open. I think it was Jacoby. I think he was open, but he was scrambling. He threw across the body and he sailed it. I don't want him to keep making those types of throws if he doesn't have to, but he proves that he can make them also. It's just, I mean, spreading the ball around. The tight ends are getting love. I mean, I think they already have more yards than all of last season. I don't even think we've hit half of what our playbook actually is. But yeah, just watching Cam do his thing and seeing a competent QB, it's been a long time since we've had a very well-rounded offense. I think we have multiple running backs. I mean, you got Fletch and Martinez. I think Jordan Lyle is going to be a stud. Hopefully we'll get Chris Johnson some more snaps because his speed is stupid ridiculous. I mean, it's just, I mean, I could go on to talk on and on about the offense with the amount of playmakers we have. The defense I've been pleasantly surprised by. I think we all knew we had a really good defensive line, and we haven't even seen Ruben Bain yet. Seeing Mesidor out there after being injured all year just like warms my heart. I love him. But the way our secondary has been playing and the combo of Harris and Mish, I'm just pleasantly surprised by our secondary. Like, I wasn't expecting it to be, I mean, obviously we haven't had a real competition because, I mean, I don't know how bad Florida is going to be. We'll see, but I'm really happy with what I've seen so far. I mean, OJ Frederic as a true freshman doing his thing, like I can't complain. Like, yeah, against FAMU, I think we let our foot off the gas a little bit, but I think when we get to more, you know, competitive teams and we hit ACC play, I don't think that's going to happen. And whatever Mario said at halftime and they came out in the third quarter, just like full on blast, I'm not too concerned, but no, I'm excited. I mean, it's probably arguably the best team we've had since the early 2000s.
I would agree with that 100% because you look at the best record we've had since the early 2000s, that 2017 team. I'd put this team up against that 2017 team. Like,
I think, and no offense to 2017, because that was a really fun run up until Pitt. I were more well-rounded on offense. Like, our defense was really good in 2017, but I think our offense is better. And I'm a huge fan of Malik Rozier, huge fan, but all around on offense, I think we're more well-rounded, and I would take this offense over the 2017 offense. But yeah, I think this could be more fun than 2017, and I'm excited for some of the atmospheres at the Rock. I don't know if you were there in 2017 for the Notre Dame game, but I need a repeat of that for some of these games coming up this year.
You might get a repeat of that for the FSU game, maybe.
Maybe, I don't know. They're looking pretty cheeks right now.
That's why I'm saying maybe, because it might just end up being like a noon or a 3:30 game. As long as we as long as we get a dominant win against them, I don't really care. But
yeah,
Miami FSU, that's always a fun game. There's going to be at least 60,000 people, probably a sellout. But if you want that Notre Dame atmosphere, we're going to have to host a playoff game. I think that's the only way that happens this year.
That and, well, I mean, I think the only way we get into the playoffs is if we win the ACC. But I was talking to my co-host Fish about this earlier. The Orange Bowl is one of the semifinals. So if we could possibly, it's only week 3. I'm not trying to, like, you know, jump on the Kool-Aid bandwagon, but I'm just saying, if we could make it that far, that would be really cool.
Yeah, hosting a playoff game here would be bananas. The atmosphere would just be out of control. I would love to see that. There's an outside chance that happens because if you follow, you look at the projections, say we win the ACC, you skip the first round. So you're in the final, you're in the Elite 8, basically, if you win the ACC automatically. If you get lucky,
you're playing a really good team.
You are. No, you're playing a really good team. But let's say you get lucky. Somebody pulls off an upset, and instead of like playing Georgia or somebody like that, you play like, I don't know, Penn State.
Or Penn State, Tennessee, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Tennessee, I don't know. That offense looks pretty ridiculous. But let's say it's like Penn State. Penn State's beatable. You know, somebody like that is beatable. Kansas State, Utah, somebody like that is very beatable. So, but we'd have to get very lucky for that to happen. I would just be ecstatic if we're there. Honestly,
I just want to win the ACC. I already have the weekend booked. Like, I don't have like plane tickets booked, but I've already put in my request at work to be off that weekend to go to Charlotte.
Just in case. Yeah.
Just in case. Because I was at the 2017 ACC championship and I sat in the nosebleeds with overpriced StubHub tickets, freezing my butt off, watching us get destroyed by Clemson for 4 quarters. And no, I don't leave games early. So I stayed the entire time. So, like, I think somebody tweeted about, like, oh, they were at the 45-3 FSU game a few years ago. So, like, oh, I really need us to smack FSU this year. I felt that in my soul. Like, I need that to happen. I just need us to kind of fix all of the, like, things that haunt me from previous seasons.
Oh, we'll exercise a lot of demons this year, because when we beat them 52-10, it was the COVID year. There wasn't fans allowed there, which is very frustrating.
And I wasn't on Twitter back then. I hadn't been on my Twitter in like 7 years when I re-upped it to follow the Mario Cristobal rumors. So I didn't even get to enjoy Twitter at that time.
um, yeah, FSU fans were quiet that year. I can tell you that. Not gonna lie, the season will be filled with upsets. It started early. PSU even lost along with LSU. Yeah. This I don't know if it's resembling that '07 season, if you remember when Michigan lost to App State, and that just started a chain reaction of massive upsets. But it's kind of resembling it.
I mean, Oregon almost lost to 2 Idaho teams. So
Yeah. Boise State, I'm not surprised by. They're always a scrappy, solid
yeah.
team. But Idaho, an FCS team, if I'm not mistaken. I mean,
Yeah.
you
You
beat an
gotta
F.
take every opponent seriously. You never know.
I mean, a lot of people were griping about like our performance against FAMU. It's like, look, aside from the end of the first half, I was fine with it. Like you said, against any other opponent, we don't fall into that lull in the second quarter because we went up 15-0 like that, and we just kind of started messing around. Against an actual opponent, we don't do that. And look what Oregon beats Idaho by 10. Like, do you see what's happening around the country? I'm glad we put them away the way we did, kind of like with a half effort. Okay, like I'm good. So is there anything so far that could concern you, like maybe future games or anything about the team that you haven't liked?
Like in the first 2 games, I think like the biggest plays we've given up have been a couple of big runs. We had that one big run against Florida that they got a touchdown on, and then FAMU had a couple of big runs, and we also had a missed coverage where Quan Lee caught a ball like wide open and would have taken it for a touchdown, but like he lost his balance and fell out of bounds. So I think there needs to be some better communication as far as the secondary is concerned. I don't want to, other teams are going to take advantage of that.
Mhm.
And just kind of, I think we were blitzing on a few of those big run plays. So I guess just making sure we have our assignments covered. It looked like one of the linebackers got like their offensive line, like got to the second level and blocked one of our linebackers who would have made the tackle otherwise. So, I mean, there's always things to fix. But like at this point, it's 2 blowout wins. So like it's nice to just only have to nitpick at the little things and not being like, oh, we barely won against FAMU. Like
Mhm.
imagine being Oregon fans and having to dissect almost losing to Idaho and Boise State. So I like where we are right now, but there's obviously always things to fix. But I'm just really excited to watch our offense score a lot of points this year. Can we just not have Cam diving into the end zone when we're up 25?
Can we not have Cam standing back there for 20 minutes taking unnecessary hits? That's my problem with it. I hope that doesn't continue. I hope the coaches gave him a good talking to,
Yeah.
because no more than 4 seconds should he be back there. Just bail, throw the ball away, and live to fight another day, because we have the offense to, like, okay, throw it away, no problem.
Mhm.
We'll get a chunk play on this next down. You
Yeah,
know,
once he starts to scramble, I want him to throw the ball away quicker and not take the hit. But there are
yes.
some plays where like he was standing in the pocket for like 4 or 5 seconds because he had plenty of time, so he was just waiting for things to develop. So I'm not mad at that. I just want him to just not take the unnecessary hits. And
Yeah.
maybe not stroll out of bounds like he did against Florida, like, a little bit more. I mean, he was kinda trolling a little bit, but, like, I don't want another team to, like, take that personal and, like, do, like, some unnecessary roughness type thing, you know?
That one I wasn't so mad about, because he knew they weren't gonna hit him. I think that's why he did it.
Yeah, he looked behind him, but, like, just
Yeah, no, he was totally under control in that moment. I knew that he knew he wasn't gonna get hit. He has a great feel for that kind of
yeah,
thing when
yeah,
he's running down the field. So that I was fine with. It's hanging out in the pocket for way too long that I have a problem with.
yeah.
Uh, Giancarlo Morera says thoughts on a possible matchup in the playoffs with Ohio State.
I'd love it.
Um, we're not at the place where we can beat Ohio State yet, in my opinion. I think we're still like a year away from that, but
I'd still love it. Just
I, it
just
would
to
be
pull off
cool.
an upset because Ohio State, obviously, as Miami fans, is one of our most hated teams.
Hmm.
I would love it eventually, but
Yeah, I
we'll
would love
see.
it eventually. Yeah, this year, I don't know. They're pretty stacked. Them, Texas, and Georgia are my favorites to win the championship. One of those three.
Yeah,
Oregon was up there, but
they're
you can
looking
cross
terrible.
you can cross them off.
Yeah.
They're I know I keep going back to this, but beating Idaho by 10, that is embarrassing. Like they should be ashamed. you know, that would be like if we beat FAMU by like 14 points or something. It's pretty much the same thing. Kermit's saying, can we get Cam out earlier? Yeah, I was saying that during the game. Mitch said the same thing we're saying. I don't like Cam holding onto the ball too
Yeah.
long. You don't need him getting hit. 100%.
I think all Miami fans are just so excited to have a legit QB that we just like we don't want anyone to touch him. Like God forbid, like
Right.
a pinky touches him. Like no, don't touch our
That's
quarterback.
Listen, I have seen Friday Night Lights too many times. You saw what happened with Boobie Miles. They left him in one play too many, and
Yeah.
So I don't want to repeat of that. That's all I'm saying. So what I've noticed so far this year is I was saying this going into the season, Mario's player development, it's going to be very telling. It's going to prove us in year 3, hey, can this guy develop? And I think he's passing that test so far because a lot of players have taken a step forward. Is there any one particular player that has surprised you, or just one that you're like, okay, I'm glad he finally took a step forward, one that stands out?
Man, there's some true freshmen that are already impressing me. Obviously, OJ Frederique like starting are like as a true freshman, but I mean, I think he was just not given enough stars. I mean, obviously, to credit to how he's developed in the system so far. Um, I'm really liking Jacoby George's maturity. It seems like he's picking fights with people, but he's not the one getting the flag. The
No,
other
he's the
teams are.
instigator now.
He's the instigator, but he's not retaliating.
Mm-hmm.
I think Isaiah Horton is already showing like flashes of being an absolute beast. That throw that Cam made to him, that over the shoulder throw that Isaiah Horton caught in the Florida game. I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was amazing. I'm really liking his development. And I mean, just the offensive line. I mean, CC Maui Noah, I think he's looking better at right tackle. I mean, obviously started as a true freshman last year, but I think he's looking better. I mean, Markel Bell started for Jalen Rivers this past week, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even realize it until I rewatched it back that Jalen Rivers wasn't starting. And as Cooper keeps getting better and better, I mean, I don't think anybody thought he was going to be. I mean, he's going to be like a top round draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
It's always the offensive line for me. After years of just like, I mean, we had offensive linemen that got injured in warmups, and now we've like the last 2 years, it's just really fun to watch like this great wall of Mirabal just develop. I'm trying to think if there's anyone on defense. I
Oh,
mean,
I've
Daryl
got
Porter last year was amazing, and
yes.
into this year. I mean, the steps that Damari Brown took last year, and I mean, if he didn't get injured in the Florida game, but I mean, there's a lot. It's just even like the true freshmen that you see coming into the games, like just the evaluation that Mario's been able to do and bringing in guys where you're like, oh, it's another 3-star, but that Mario's 3-star is like a 5-star other places. Like the
Mm-hmm.
evaluation that this staff is able to put on players is just awesome.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can name a bunch of guys on defense. Wes Saint has taken a
Oh
massive
yeah.
step forward. Who else? Jaden Harris.
Yep.
That's a really big one. I mean,
Mentioned him earlier. Yeah.
I know people say there's no drop off from Cam to him. I think just looking at 2 games, I think he's been an improvement, to be honest with you. At least looking at Cam from last year, not his 2022 All-American season.
Yeah.
I think it's been him and Mish at safety. It's been an improvement. I think there'll be less busted coverages and things like that. I think they'll be more reliable. They're both great tacklers. They make plays. I love the way Jaden has stepped his game up. Ahmad Moten is another one.
Oh, love
Yeah.
him. I
Yeah.
hate that he deleted his tweet about playing in a kiddie pool instead of the swamp. I don't know if you saw that. I have a screenshot of
I
it,
didn't
but he
know he
deleted
deleted it. I know about the tweet.
it.
I mean, that might have been the coaches. That the coaches
It
might
it
have made
might
him
have
delete it.
been.
Yeah. Who else? Yes, Daryl Porter's improved. Damari's improved. Um,
I think with Jaden Harris, I think playing behind Cam and then coming into this year and playing alongside Mish, I think the benefits that he's had of being able to learn against two like really good safeties, I think he's taken full advantage of that, and that's what you're seeing.
yeah. Lex, what's going on, dude? Never realized that you didn't realize Rivers didn't start.
I didn't
Yeah,
realize it
dude.
either. I didn't realize it either until I watched it back. It was Markel Bell the whole time
Yeah,
at left
yeah.
tackle.
Yeah, Lex. Markel Bell started in his
Uh,
place.
I will say Ryan Rodriguez. I know he didn't play in this last
That's
game,
another one. Yeah.
but you didn't hear a lot about him until a couple of weeks coming up leading into the season. So like, I mean, we knew him. He was like the backup center for Lee last year. We didn't see a ton of him, but the fact that he earned the left tackle starting spot like out of nowhere.
I heard this must have been like during the summer. I heard that Ryan had put on a lot of good weight and physically he was starting to look like a power five offensive lineman and watch out for him this season. I remember hearing that and it came true because yeah, it surprised me to see him start at guard though. That means he earned his spot to the point that listen, he's one of our five best. We got to plug him in somewhere.
Mhm.
And that's impressive considering you have Matt McCoy, who you can slot in at left guard. They decided to put in Rodriguez, which is a testament to how well he played in camp. John Carlos says, if Miami makes the ACC championship, who do you think will be our opponent? I think it'll be Clemson. I would agree with that. What do you think so far? I mean, the ACC's also been a disappointment so far. But
I
what do you?
think talent wise, I think Clemson, if Miami were to make it, I think Clemson would be the top to be the second. I think Syracuse is looking really good so far. I don't like how they let Georgia Tech back into it because they were blowing them out, and then Georgia Tech made a really good comeback. Kyle McCord's looking pretty good in that offense, so I think they could be a sleeper. But yeah, I think Clemson. I think if you asked like experts right now, they'd probably say Miami and Clemson.
Mm-hmm. I
But
would
I
agree
think
with it.
Syracuse could be sneaky. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Boston College has looked decent. I mean, they've got a feisty quarterback. But I think they're gonna run into some better teams. Because let's be honest, FSU is terrible. But yeah, I think those are the three for me: Miami, Clemson, and Syracuse.
Yeah. Bell, McCoy, Carpenter, Cooper, Francis was our starting five. Yeah, I want to say Pancake was that first guy in as a sub. More than likely. I mean, a lot of guys rotated in. You saw
Yeah,
Kinsler in there. You saw Lou Cristobal Jr. in there. You saw everybody get in there.
Coach
So,
Mirabal deserves all his limbs.
yes, he does. We can honestly say offensive line is not a weakness at Miami, which was his promise. Um,
Is there any, like, as far as our offense is concerned, as far as the starters are concerned, I don't know that we have a weakness at
I
this
can't
point.
think. That's what I was trying to think of. Offense or defense? Like who has been with us at least a couple years and there's been a drop off? I can't think of one person.
I mean, we were all worried about the secondary coming into the season, losing James and Cam.
Yeah.
I think we were cool. I mean, Daryl Porter was like our best cover corner last year. Damari took that step. I don't think we were worried about them when we brought in Mish. I think we were worried about the other spots. But the way Jaden Harris has looked, the way OJ Frederic has played, and
Hmm.
then I mean, I think we've got two of the best linebackers in the ACC with Maui Noah and Basaint. And I didn't know Basaint was going to be such an animal in the first two games. That interception he made in FAMU was ridiculous.
Hmm.
The body control and the concentration for him
Yeah.
to cover that as a linebacker is crazy.
Hmm. The weight that he's put on, um, he's up to close to 230 pounds. And it doesn't really look like he's up to 230. That shows you that it's good weight that he's put on. He's still very fast and explosive. I noticed because I was at the spring game. I don't know if you were at the spring game on campus, but we were there and I noticed he stood out in that game. So I remember thinking, okay, mental note, watch out for him. And he's kept it going, thankfully. But
And he's a guy that committed to Miami. He didn't commit to it because he
Mhm.
committed before Diaz was let go. And when
Like
Mario
right
got
before, yeah.
hired, he
Mhm.
said he's like, "No, I committed to the program." So he's a Miami guy. Like, so that's one of those things where it's even more satisfying to see someone like that succeed and get better. Because he was there at like came in right at like a really bad spot, and he's like, "No, I want to help Miami come back or whatever." So like you root for those guys, and I mean, he took a massive step this year, and he's a junior. So I mean, we'll see what his draft stock is, but I mean, the potential of him coming back next year would be awesome. Obviously, we lose Maui Noah, but
Yeah, I think we'll be okay because you lose Maui Noah, but if Wes can stick around, which would be huge, and if
mhm,
you got, I don't think Alderman has another year. You
no,
have Chase, who might stick around one more year. You
you got
have
Popo.
Popo, who has looked solid.
Hmm.
You have Adarius Hayes, who he made a tackle on special teams, and I was at the game on Saturday, and I don't know, I was in the beer line or something, and he makes a tackle on kickoffs. He gets up and trots back to the sideline, and I'm like, oh my god, he's huge, dude. The guy's massive.
He's just
I
happy he's flipped from Florida to Miami
oh
after
my
witnessing.
he's a freaking wall. I see him get up and trot to the sidelines, and I'm like, I'm not used to this. I'm not used to having linebackers like
That's
that.
like seeing Elijah Lofton. Like, that dude is a brick wall, and he's
Hmm.
like 18 he's like an 18-year-old kid, and I'm like, "Holy crap."
Oh, he's a grown man
He
already.
is a specimen.
Dude, I that's another one I can't wait for.
Like, yeah.
Um, Boyo says Cal and Syracuse are going to be sneaky hard games. I agree with you on Syracuse. Um,
I'm gonna
Cal,
be at the Cal game, so I'm gonna preface this with saying my road record is atrocious. So
oh,
I'm depending on the guys to get me a road win because 'cause I'm like 1-8, I think, when I go to road games. My
you
only
could
road
also just
win
not go, for our
my
sake.
only road win is Pitt in 2019. Jaron Williams to KJ Osborne to
The
win it.
KJ Osborne one on fourth down. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
remember that.
was that's my only road win. So I'm trying to start a new streak of wins because there hasn't been one yet.
You could
Uh,
also just not go.
well,
Is
in my defense, I go to like the really hard games. Like I go to like the big time games. Like I was like, oh, if I go to
okay.
Cal, maybe they're not as good. Maybe I can get a chance to start it off good. I can tell you one thing: I'm never going back to Chapel Hill ever again. After 2 times going to 2 UNC games, I can't.
Mm.
I'm done with them.
I went to one game in Chapel Hill, and it was in 2017, and we won.
I
We
went in 2019 and we gave up like a 4th and 14 and
oh,
ended up losing.
I
And then
remember
my
that one.
friend almost got into a fight with a frat kid. And then I went last year and I knew it was doomed from the start because I had a 4-hour flight delay. We had to change planes 3 times. So by the time I got to North Carolina, Bojangles was already closed. So I was already having a terrible day. And then I had to deal with that game. But
Yeah. But to be fair, yes, we have sucked until recently, so it may not be totally your fault. I think we'll get the win this year. I Auburn looked really bad against Cal. I went back and watched the game, and
yeah,
yeah,
Flo was saying that. He's
they
like, don't judge Cal because
no,
Auburn's
no.
terrible.
Auburn handed them the game. There's no other way to say it. They absolutely handed them the game. They did not take it seriously at all. Cal got the win, props to them, but now they're on people's radar. And I just think that we have so many veterans to lean on now, like so many proven veterans that week in and week out, they're going to be there. I don't worry about games like Cal anymore. I don't worry about games like USF as much. It's still a game. We still got to go out and prepare. I'm still going to be nervous before kickoff, but you still gotta like I look at who we got now leading the team and the maturity we have. I'm like, I think we're gonna be okay in those games. It's for me, I don't know if it's the same for you. It's Louisville on the road, Georgia Tech on the road. Now, because they got Kyle McCord and Aronde Gadsden is back healthy, maybe Syracuse. I'll give you
Syracuse to end the season, yeah.
because it's to end the season. Yeah. How plugged in will they still be? Are we going to go into that game 10-1 or,
I'm
would we
always
have
I
tripped up
mean,
before that?
I was sitting in the stands before FAMU super nervous. Like, I'm always nervous before games. Like, it doesn't matter who we're playing until we, like, start to get a lead and I know how we're playing, I'm always nervous. But, the culture, you can tell it with when the players get interviewed, when Mario Cristobal speaks, when the coordinators speak, you can tell it's just a different way of that they do things, the attitude. I'm
Mhm.
less nervous because I know that they take every game seriously. And you don't have to be around the program to know that. You can just watch the interviews and tell.
Yeah. Coach Cristobal said today or yesterday, he had his press conference about Ball State, and he said that they are a physical team. They have a big offensive line. They have a lot of experience,
Their center's
and
like a fifth year center for that
yeah,
program.
yeah. When you have a lot of fourth and fifth year guys on your O line, that's usually a good sign for you.
Yeah.
So they gotta come into the game, start fast, keep their foot on the gas from the opening play. That's how good teams blow these teams out. Um, do you do you think the 36.5 point spread or whatever it is a little too much? Like if you were to bet on this game, I'm not saying you are, but if you were to, would you take the points or would you say, yeah, Miami's going to cover, no problem?
I think Miami will cover, and it's not because listen, if you look at Ball State, so for instance, we beat Miami of Ohio last year with Tyler Van Dyke. Miami of Ohio won the MAC last year. Ball State was like second to last. Now they've done like a complete revamp of their defense. I think they only have like 3 players that have any meaningful starts from last year.
Hmm.
Um, but this is a team that if we could beat Miami of Ohio by 20 something points with last year's team, there's no reason why, if we keep our foot on the gas, why we can't beat them by 30 plus. Now, it depends how early do we take our starters out, but even then, the talent in our 2 deep, our 3 deep should be better than
Hmm.
players for Ball State. That's just
Yeah.
how it is. I mean, again, on paper, but if I was betting, I would probably take the spread. Yeah.
Yeah. Initially, I thought it was way too big of a spread. But again, I'm thinking I still have previous years on my mind
Mhm.
when I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. Look at the roster we have now. Look at the quarterback we have now. It's at home. Yes, Middle Tennessee did that was a thing that happened, but I just like you said, we beat the MAC, the defending MAC champions last year by literally just running the ball and throwing bubble screens at them. So
For
at
context, one of Ball State's, um, DBs this year is their starting quarterback from last season. He
mhm,
switched positions to DB. So, they do have an experienced offensive line, but we should we should thoroughly handle this game.
yeah. Lex, who I know is a betting guy, he says I don't think we cover. That is a lot. The more I think about it, the more I think we do cover. Is a point I was trying to make earlier, and I don't know. I'm on the fence on that one. That's a because think about it. Let's say we beat them like 42-10. That's a blowout. That doesn't beat
Mhm.
the spread.
Yeah.
That's a huge spread. So I'm like, I don't know.
If you play our starters for 4 quarters, we easily beat the spread. Are we gonna do that? No.
We
So,
don't. Cristobal's not like that. Yeah, he's not going to put 70 points on you
he
unless
won't
it's
take a knee,
FSU.
but he'll have our, like, 4th string or walk-on running back keep running the ball. So, I mean, it's the most research I've ever done on a MAC team in my life and, like, the 30 minutes I was reading about them before today's show. But,
Yeah,
I mean, I just found it interesting that one of their main DBs now was the starting quarterback from last year. It's an interesting tidbit.
that is an interesting tidbit, and I didn't realize that.
And
Um,
also, someone said Oregon lost the players Mario has recruited. You see how trash Oregon's offensive line is?
mhm. Yes, I am
Mhm,
glad you brought that up because I noticed that I watched clips of the Idaho game to see where things went wrong. And yeah,
mhm,
like a lot of shrinking, collapsing pockets that Dylan Gabriel had to deal with against Boise State. Boise State, I watched a chunk of the game live as it was happening because it was a late game. Um, I was just in bed watching it on my phone, and I'm like, man, he's under duress like half the time. You know what I'm saying? And their defense on the back end, like they allowed some big chunk plays to Boise State. So I'm like, they don't they don't have the same dudes. And I thought about it and it clicked. A lot of Mario's guys are gone.
Got to build from the trenches out.
Yes.
And that's
A
what
lot of
Mario
Mario.
did the last 2 years, built up the trenches and then brought in a guy like Cam Ward and developed some of the guys we already have. Look at our top receivers. Restrepo's been in the program the whole time. Jacoby George has been in the program the whole time. Isaiah Horton's been in the program the whole time. Like, yeah, we've thrown in a few transfers here and there to fill everything out, but we still have our main thing is still high school recruiting, and that's the difference between what Miami looks like right now and what FSU looks like right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we balance the portal and high school recruiting very well. I got to give it to Cristobal. Like he balances the two things very well. He gets impact guys in the portal that can help you right now. But if you look at the team, yeah, like big chunks of every position group are high school guys that we brought in.
Yeah.
And we've developed them. FSU does neither of those two things. They recruit. Flo keeps saying they recruit like trash. They're ranked like 20th, 18th, 12th. They don't recruit terribly. I mean, that's not bad. But if you develop the number 18 classes in the country, you'll have a pretty solid team. I think that's where their problem is. They're not developing.
Well, that and they don't know how to evaluate. I mean, I mean, not to hate on DJU, but I don't think a lot of programs were going after him for a reason.
When he missed those two wide open guys in the end zone against BC in a row, if I'm not mistaken, it was like the same possession. I was like, oh my God, that was the moment I realized, oh no, this is going to be a long season for them. That wasn't just a one fluke loss.
I don't think Norvell is a bad coach, but I think he needs to get better staff around him that will do the recruiting for him. I think that's his problem because he took last year's team and they went undefeated and won the ACC championship. And a few of those games, he didn't have the starting quarterback and they managed. Mm-hmm. He needs to get recruiters around him. Otherwise, they're going to continue to fall. And I mean, at Florida, Napier is just not the answer, but we can let them suffer.
Yeah. At least they have a future quarterback star, possibly. But no, I agree. I don't think
keep him there.
Yeah. I don't think Norvell's a bad coach either. I think X's and O's wise and preparing, like putting together an offensive game plan, I think he's very good. Especially the two openers last 2 seasons against LSU, the team looks super prepared.
Mm-hmm.
He developed Jordan Travis. I'll give him credit for that. But aside from that, I mean, yeah, you could tell they have no culture. It's feeling a lot like us around 06, 07, like the end of the Coker era. It feels exactly like that.
Like, to respond to Anthony, he is a one-dimensional scheme that only works for Jordan Travis. It's because he doesn't have a QB this year. This is like Dawson trying to scheme stuff for Tyler Van Dyke last year. Everyone thinks this quarterback's great and all of these things. But if you don't have a quarterback that can make the reads and make the throws, your offense becomes very one-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same situation that we had last year, is that there's talent around them, but if you don't have a quarterback that can make the reads or make the throws, they're not going to be good. And then you start to wonder, like, oh, was Dawson the right hire? Well, now we see what he can do with a talented quarterback.
Yeah. No, what I was going to say also is you were saying the 13-0 season. They should have had the number 1 class after that.
Right.
Like, how do you not parlay that into, like, come to look what we got built now, come to FSU. And how do you not piggyback off that and get like a top 3 class? I don't know. And now
and it's all over their message boards too. They know it too. They had a 10-3 season and then a 13-0 season.
Right.
And we were still beating them in recruiting, going 5-7 and 7-5.
And it wasn't even close how much we were beating them in recruiting.
Yeah, it wasn't close. And now we're winning and they're losing. So
yeah. Oh boy. It puts a smile on my face.
And, I mean, it makes me really happy because we've been suffering for a long time.
We suffered for so long.
And the last 2 years, I'm like, no, just have faith in Mario. Like it was bad culture the last few years. He just needs a few years to get his guys in, develop the culture, get the right guys in there. He fixed the coordinator problem after year 1. I think that I love Lance Guidry. And I love Dawson too. But like what Guidry's able to do with the defense, I love it. He's got the right guys. We've got a lot of high school talent showing we can develop, and he knows how to get out of the portal. And now we're winning. If we, in the next few years, if we keep doing this and we remain competitive and make college football playoffs, I don't think there'll be anybody that we can't get.
Yeah.
But we have to keep doing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. And Florida State have that state funding, and we don't. So I don't feel bad for them at all.
Nope. I
Uh,
mean, look at what their own stadiums are doing for them. Like, how are we out recruiting you? We play in a rented stadium. Oh my gosh.
people, players care more about the prospect of winning and winning for their hometown more than they do playing in front of 80,000 people, I think, for the most part. Some people prefer to play in front of the big crowds in a small college town. Great. You know, there's, everybody has different tastes. Some people want to be in a, you know, metropolitan city like Miami and play in an NFL stadium. And,
We will
and
sell out. We will if we keep winning, we're gonna sell out good game. We're not going to sell out games like FAMU.
that'll never happen.
The Orange Bowl wasn't getting sold out when we were going undefeated and had like that 50 plus game win streak at home against the lesser teams. Versus big opponents, Hard Rock will be sold out. There's too much to do in Miami. This isn't Podunk Gainesville.
It's John Michaels said it best. I love him, by the way. He said it best on somebody's show. He's like, he's always having to defend the Canes, and he's like, why, well, why don't Cane fans go to the stadium? It's like, it's the same reason people don't go to an Atlanta Hawks game on a Tuesday night. No one wants to see a crappy product on a weeknight.
Because there's a million other things to do in a big city.
Correct. People say we use that as an excuse. The people that say we use that as an excuse have never left their small town. They've never been to Miami. What's the second most popular thing to do in a small town like that, aside from go to a football game? Like, what is it? I can't even think of it. Where I can reel off 100 things right now that there are to do in Miami,
Yeah. Like, I mean, if there was a football game tonight, I mean, I'm sure people would rather watch your show. So,
Yeah. I would have more viewers than they would be at the stadium for sure. Yeah, there's just too much to do down here. There's too much to compete with. But I think I agree. Once the winning starts, like real winning, yeah. Mike Lowry says tip cows. I didn't want to say it. Thank you for saying it for me. Yeah, no, as we win more, yes, the bigger games will be more sold out. But what I was getting at before is, especially the fans, the players that grew up here, they know if they part of that group that brings Miami back, which we're starting to see that corner being turned, they'll be remembered forever. I mean, the legends from the 80s through the 2000s, I mean, they still own this town, and I think the players know that. Let's see.
And I also think, as far like the guys we have on staff right now, as far as the coaching, especially with defensive line, with having Coach Joe and Jason Taylor as our coaches, it's just, I mean, Justin Scott said in his post game, like, he came here to be coached by Jason Taylor. Like, and what Chevis Jackson has been able to do recruiting wise with our secondary and what he's done with the secondary, like, all of the coaches are just top tier. And even when some have left, we've brought in like even better guys. And it's going to bring more people in because a lot of these players are going to go to the NFL. And especially with us winning and now being more national and stuff, more high school recruits are going to see it. And the NIL situation, I mean, we're going to benefit greatly from that. I don't know why you wouldn't want to play for Miami, especially with the hype train going on right now.
Yeah. Gator fans have Jacksonville. Anthony, you can't compare the two. I'm sorry. And Jacksonville, if I'm not mistaken, my geography isn't the best, but it's not like down the street from campus.
Oh, it's probably isn't like an hour or two. I don't know.
Yeah, no. It's not the same.
I've only been up to Gainesville a couple times.
I've never been up there, and I don't know if that'll ever change.
I have a bunch of my friends went to Florida, and I went to Miami, so went up there a few times to visit. But at least I can talk trash now until we play them next year.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's going to be fun next year. But yeah, I'm going to enjoy for the next 365 days. We got bragging rights, big ones.
I need us to beat USF and I need us to beat Florida State because I just need the full on. We beat all the Florida.
Yeah, state champs on a bad year in the past. On a bad year, we were at least state champs.
Yeah.
So we'll get back to that though. I think we win both those games. But This is a good comment by Anthony. You want to know why Marcus Freeman lost NIU? He has Al Golden on staff. He learned from the best. Oh man, that was embarrassing for Notre Dame.
Did they have 11 guys on the field?
They did, yeah. And you know what? Defense wasn't the problem. I went back and watched the highlights of that game. Dude,
The offense.
Riley Leonard. I keep wanting to call him Riley Skinner. Riley Leonard, their quarterback.
Yeah.
He was awful in that game.
Notre Dame fans were calling for him to be benched.
Oh my God. He was so bad. And that shows you what an amazing coach Mike Elko is. And I think he's going to be a problem at A&M. But yeah, no, Leonard looked awful. Lagway will lead us to victory next year over the Gators. I read that at first and I'm like, oh, is Mike a Gator fan? Wait a minute. No, he's saying
our QB situation in the offseason is going to be very interesting. I think it was Flo that said it on the show the other night. Like, we'll know how much the staff thinks of Emory Williams by how we go after a QB in the portal. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that is very, very true.
Yeah. If we go after a vet, like, let's say we go after like another version of Kyle McCord, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we believe what you're saying about Emory. If we go after a Lagway that's got like 2-3 years left and he's a stud, yeah, then that might not have been true. Look, I'm fine with either outcome. Just give me another good quarterback next year. Let's keep this train rolling.
Well, I mean, and like our next two classes as well have really good QBs coming in. So
yes, you need someone to bridge the gap, though.
Yeah.
For when Coleman and Nickel come in here, and once they get like a year or two under the belt, you need a guy to come in and be like a stopgap who can win you double-digit games.
Yeah, I think the way our offensive line has been playing the last 2 years, I think it's going to make it a little bit easier for us to get those high-quality QBs in. Because
no, especially if we're putting up numbers the way we are on offense.
If Cam Ward continues to play the way he's been playing, I think he's going to be our biggest advertisement for QBs to come in.
Yeah. All right. So the comments keep rolling in, but I'll go ahead and cap it here because we've been on for like 45 minutes. But anyway, Hoodie Girl, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Always a pleasure talking to Canes with you. Anything you want to plug while you're here? I know you're on like a million different shows, so please plug away.
I'm on the 5 Reasons Sports Network show called Buckets. We cover Canes basketball. I know everyone says Miami's a football school, but the basketball team is going to be really good this year, both teams. So check us out on 5 Reasons Sports. If you want to listen to the audio, 5 Reason Canes. And then if you want a really cool hoodie, I've got a hoodie line on aboutthefans.com. Just search Hoodie Girl. There's 4 different hoodies. This is my logo hoodie. It's my favorite. And just because the title is Hoodie Girl, it doesn't mean they're girl hoodies. They're hoodies for everybody. So there's not like a feminine touch to them. So, those cold weather games are for like the 2 days of the year in Miami that we have cold weather. Buy a hoodie, please. But if not, if you don't want a hoodie, About the Fans does have really cool merch anyway. You can get the Flow merch line on About the Fans as well. So
awesome. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. As always, go Canes. Beat Ball State. Have a good night, everybody.